describe the relationship between humans and our four-legged friends. And for reasons, for hundreds of years, dogs have been with humans as companions. But over the last few days, viewers, there has been a concerning change in perception. After some incidents of dog attacks, many have started distrusting dogs or even fearing them. In a knee-jerk reaction over certain incidents, many have forgotten that the dogs are friendly, social animals that crave interactions. To put things in perspective, let's speak about some of the myths of dogs and dog attacks. The most important one being animals can't be trusted. The human-dog bond has existed for 15,000 years. Some also fear that they are carriers of rabies, but most dogs are vaccinated. Activists say that the way forward is to ensure effective sterilization and vaccination, and also understand some friendly dogs end up ferocious due to lack of water and food on the streets. In fact, our laws also recognize animal rights from Article 21 of our Constitution, guaranteeing right to life and security to dogs, to even recent Supreme Court hearing seeking a more humane solution to the dog problem, which is why we have a stellar panel to discuss this. Ambika Shukla, citizen activist, trustee, People for Animal Rights. Kasturi Shankar is with us, actress, prominent voice, needs no introduction. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, chairperson of Nephron, prominent voice of the civil society. And Bhuvan Ponanna is also joining us. Now, Dr. Bagai, before we deep dive into what the problem is, let's talk about the kind of commentary narrative which we've seen in the last few weeks or months, if you have.
Good afternoon, Pranesh. I think we need a very objective and a very balanced view on this. So I'll divide this in three parts. One is what are the stats? The stats is that almost 20,000 deaths happen in India of what is counted. A large number are not reported. Because of rabies, India has almost 36% of the total load of rabies worldwide. There are more than 6,000 dog bites per day. And rabies is not a pleasant disease or an illness to get, which carries a very high, almost a 99% fatality. Apart from mutilating injuries and rabies, tetanus, host of bacterial infections, a lot of other complications also take place. But the real issue is when the stray dogs enter into residential colonies, a lot of them are fed, a lot of them are not fed, a lot of them are feared. What do we really need to do? We don't need to kill these stray dogs. What we need is a three-pronged strategy. One is that we need adequate amount of shelter homes for these stray animals. They cannot be mistreated on the roads because then they show aggression and then they bite. Point number two is adequate amount of vaccinations for these stray dogs and adequate approach to sterilizing these stray dogs. The public awareness campaign also should be done that people who in residences or in commercial complexes or in residential areas where it's a cooperative society, a lot of them have small babies, elderlies. That's where we need to take special attention and care that these stray dogs are not fed and then left alone. I think we need a balanced approach. We need to make people aware what the do's and don'ts are. But more importantly is we can't kill them on the roads. These stray dogs, we need adequate shelter homes. But stray dogs and human beings in a given closed environments can be dangerous.
Bhuvan Ponanna is also with us. Bhuvan, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Times Now. Before I come to you, Kasturi Shankar, let's quickly address this negative campaign that would have us believe that all dogs are dangerous.
No, clearly all dogs are not dangerous, but in India today we have a twofold problem. We have a huge human population issue and we have a huge stray dog population issue as well. To quote statistics from the 2022 numbers, we've got approximately 10 million pet dogs, but we have a 35 million street dog population in India, according to 2022 figures. And this is a very humane census of street dogs. So we can't just say the negative campaign is, it's not a malicious campaign. It is a reflection of the fear and the suspicion that has creeped into society, because in recent times we are seeing 4-year-old children, senior citizens, and now recently a very well-known socially well-known person, Mr. Desai, who's a famous industrialist. All of these people have lost their lives to very ferocious attacks from dogs. I believe Mr. Desai was, there were no dog bites on him. He was just trying to escape them. So I think negative campaigning is not a cause, but a result of certain very unpleasant activities in the past. But I do not agree that we have to look at all dogs like that. We do have pets as well. As a pet lover, and some people like to say pet parent, as a pet owner, one can always vouch for the loyalty and the reliability of dogs. We use them for protection, but when it comes to street dogs, it's a different situation. We need to have more awareness. Not just, the speaker before me talked about, having shelters for dogs. I want to say it is about access to food. Humans, when we have a society, what we do, we take the food, we go just outside of the wall and we throw the food. We throw our kachra. We keep our streets dirty and full of food. We keep our streets as gold mines for any kind of animals. That's why we have a pigeon problem.
Right.
That's why we have a rat infestation problem. And that's why we attract dogs. It is humans who have to change, and particularly India. There are many countries in the world where there are more dogs than human also, but they don't have such issues. We have that issue because we are, as a civilization, very selectively sanitary.
Right.
We will keep our insides clean and our outsides
that's a
full
great
of
point,
trash.
and we'll
And
talk
that is
about
where
in
the
detail as we
awareness
go
campaign has
along.
to
Ambika
start.
Shukla also joining us. Ambika, good to have you on Times Now. Let me quickly begin by asking Bhuvan Punanna. Bhuvan, the reason I asked Kasturi Shankar the problem about the narrative is because what it has done is that, one, it has created this fear that, oh, look, if you go near a dog, it might attack you. And the other is that it has created a stigma around the people who care for dogs, people who feed them.
First of all, I think it's really sad that we are having a discussion about, if dogs should be around with us or not. I'm a dog lover myself. I've been rescuing dogs since 6 years now. I have 16 dogs in my house, all of them rescued. All of them love me, never bitten anybody, never shown aggression. That's because the way I have treated them, the way we've taken care of them. I think, until a couple of years ago, I think we beautifully coexisted with dogs. And I think, humans and dogs were the best friends. And today we see all these cases, I personally think, is because of the kind of aggression we show towards them. I see people throwing stones at them, hitting them with sticks, and, killing them and stuff like that. But I think that's the dog showing aggression to us is a direct result of how we behave with them. And I think, as Sir just said, awareness is a very, very important thing that we have to bring with the people, because, people do not know that, if you run, a dog will instinctively chase you. It'll try to bite you or whatever, whatever it is. So I think it's really important that we create awareness, tell people how you should be or how you should behave around animals as well. Of course, instead of just, I was listening to a couple of people say that, just kill all the dogs, just put them in the trucks, get them transported to a, unknown island or something. I mean, I think we have to look at a humane approach of maybe neutering these dogs and phase by phase coming to a situation wherein, they're phased out or, moved away from the civilized places in the cities or towns. And I personally feel very, very bad that, so many dogs today are are going through so much of trauma. When I rescue these dogs, they take up to 2 weeks to even trust me. Even if I'm feeding them or if I'm trying to comfort them, they take up to 2 weeks to even, comfort up to me or come up to me and, be a little more comfortable with me. That's because of the kind of trauma that we made them go through. I think, we have to look at that angle as well. I totally understand. It's sad that, some people are getting bitten, some kids are being, attacked and all that. But I think as parents, as teachers, as people, responsible people in the society, it's very important we educate people and kids about how they should behave around animals as well.
Now, Ambika Shukla, if I could bring you in fact, we're having an issue with your line. We'll go to Ambika Shukla in just a bit. But Dr. Bagai, you made an important point about striking the right balance because, like I said in the beginning, that the human-dog bond is 15,000 years old. So, coexistence is not something new.
Yeah, so, in terms of the stray dogs, very often we've seen they tend to congest residential colonies, societies, cooperative society buildings. My concern is generally for the smaller children, because their instinct is also when they see an animal, they may tend to run, or they may run in any case, or elderlies because of fear, and then there is a fall. Generally, the dog bite may not kill elderly, but the fall may. So I think we need to be careful in how we dispose our garbage. In a lot of colonies, the garbage is spilled over into open waste dumps called as dhalaus. They not only attract dogs, rats, cats, cows, and so on. So I think that's an issue. Completely unhygienic. We need to attend to that. The local civic authorities need to look into it very aggressively and urgently. But I think the dogs need a shelter home. They need more number of vets available. And I think the vets should be publicized in the residential areas so that people know where a particular dog can be sent to. You can ask the name of a cardiologist or a gastroenterologist or a neurologist or a pediatrician. Very often you won't even know whether a vet exists in a colony. So I think dogs need that particular kind of homing in, but we need to be careful. Public awareness needs to be given.
Awareness is where it comes down to. Let me bring in Ambika Shukla. Ambika Shukla, we had a problem with your line. Now I hope it is fixed. Let's address this, animal versus human conflict debate which has been raging. What is the human solution? How do we strike balance?
Yeah, firstly, I think we're looking at it the wrong way. Why are we regarding animals as a problem? What has always been magical and wonderful about India, and it's a part of our tradition and our culture and our religion and our everything, is the way we live and coexist with animals. Why should we talk about removing animals from our streets? That is what people enjoy about our streets, is that they are not these sterile cities with just buildings and humans and cars. We share our life with animals. That is the way it has always been, and that is the way we need to continue. That is what makes us so special in the world. When foreigners come to India, that is the one thing they all go with, is how magically our dogs live with us, our cattle lives with us, our cats live with us, our birds live with us. These are not regimented populations, and nor should they be. They are co-sharers of the earth. They are not encroachers on earth. They do not exist for our pleasure or our convenience or our ideas of how they should be, where they should be. They have their own lives. They have their own dharma. They have their own karma. So I think we should go back to the beginnings and understand that animals are not a nuisance. Animals are not a hygiene issue. Animals are not a problem. Animals are none of these things. Animals are co-sharers and equal inhabitants of the earth and our planet and our country. And especially our country which believes in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. This is not just a slogan, it's a way of life. If we believe in Sanatan Dharam means respect life. It does not mean shove life into shelters, into jails. Shelters are virtually just jails for animals. Shove them away, out of sight, out of mind. No, it means respect them, respect the way they have an equal right to the pursuit of happiness. If we have dogs in our cities, let us provide food for them. Don't we provide food for children? Don't we provide food? Don't we provide things for every needy section of society? We provide for them. Animals are also part of our society. Let us provide for them, and let us provide for them according to their needs, not according to our convenience. So I think we just need to change our orientation. The current what I see is intolerance, and the current cruelty, and the current really this business
that's
of
so well put, Ambika. You've really addressed the core of the issue, and I think it's so much to do with awareness, education, and we've discussed some of it. Kasturi Shankar was raising her hand. Yes, Kasturi Shankar.
Yeah, I appreciate Ambika ji's sentiments, but I think it's a tad bit too idealistic. And in today's times, in an urban setting, this is not very practical or realistic. I'll tell you why. A few decades ago, hold on, ma'am. A few decades ago, the biggest killer of children under the age of 10 used to be scorpion bites, because we had a more rural setting where scorpions were the biggest reason for the loss of life. And then in rapid urbanization, what has happened is today, excuse me, ma'am, excuse me, thank you for waiting while I talk. Thank you for not interrupting. I was talking about how scorpion bites were the biggest reason for child death in India. But today, due to rapid urbanization, we don't see scorpions or rats even as much in secured complexes and societies. We have a huge dog population problem. I'm not saying dogs are a problem. I'm a dog lover. I'm not saying dogs are a problem. I'm saying we have a huge dog population problem. There was a time when they had their own space to be themselves, but today they have been accustomed to foraging within human residential areas. You can say humans have gone into their space, but you can say it is the other way. And let's not forget, this is a country where even tigers were killed. In the Sundarbans, tigers were killed to make way for agricultural safety.
Sure.
So we only have 2,000 tigers.
Which is why we are talking about solution. And I think Ambika Shukla just wants to answer some of what you raised.
Right. So yes, it's not, we cannot.
Yeah, I'd like to correct some of that. Firstly, there is the dog numbers. There is a misconception that dog numbers have increased. Dog numbers have actually decreased, and we have the figures for that. And the reason for that is the sensible animal birth control program. We haven't been able to control human numbers, but we've certainly been able to control dog numbers. And today we have the smallest, healthiest, friendliest dog population we have ever had. Since 2012, the figures have come down drastically. In fact, in some cities, for example, I'll give you the figures. During the G20, when the MCD actually picked up dogs from other parts of Delhi, NDMC areas, South Delhi areas, not a single dog was picked up because there are so few dogs. All of them have been sterilized and vaccinated. All the existing dogs are sterilized and vaccinated. That's a huge achievement. South Bombay is the same thing. Jaipur is the same thing. Goa is rabies free because of the sterilization program. Vadodara, 86% of the dogs have been sterilized, and there's been a decline in dog complaints by 160%. Similarly, Sikkim, similarly, Pune, similarly, Bangalore. Everywhere we have a solution. It is called the Animal Birth Control Program, wherein dogs are sterilized, vaccinated, and replaced in their own areas. Not only does this reduce the numbers, stabilizes the population, but also eliminates biting and rabies. So you have a finite, time-bound program. Why are we not embracing that? Why do we continue look at it as a problem? Why not look at it as a solution? How many of the people who actually complain have actually sponsored even one single dog sterilization? How many of the people who have who carry on about dog problem, even have gone out and given food to dogs. None of that. Why don't we look at solutions? How is the way to keep dogs kind, calm, harmless, friendly? Feed them. That's all they ask for. And if you have regular feeders, instead of encouraging those feeders, instead of supporting those feeders who are doing it on their own time and money, what does the society do? They gang up against the feeders. They throw them out of their flats if they're tenants. They socially boycott them. They abuse them. It has come to the point where they assault them. What are the feeders doing that is a crime or wrong? They are protected by the law. The law says you can feed. They feed at designated responsible points. They get the dogs sterilized and vaccinated on their own time and money. They are helping
wish it were
society.
that simple.
But instead of viewing that in the correct situation, instead of viewing it correctly, viewing it in perspective and viewing them as helping the situation rather than aggravating it, society targets them, persecutes them and prevents them from feeding, which is aggravating the problem. So if you're part of the solution, it would help. You wouldn't, be facing a problem. If you are going to continue to just talk about it from the problem side and only view it as a problem, you are never going to be able to resolve any issue. Look at it from the solution
And this is
side.
important that you ensure respect towards feeders and volunteers, because they are the people on the ground selflessly, as you argued, selflessly working to inject sense, as lack of a better term,
reduce the numbers.
Exactly.
Yes.
So on that note, I think we are in agreement. Let's see how this unfolds. Let's not make this dog versus animal. Let's focus on solutions and coexistence as we have over the last so many years. I thank all of you, Ambika Shukla, Kasturi Shankar, Dr. Bagai and Bhuvan Ponanna, for joining us on Times Now.